On this day, 5 days and 110 years ago, New Zealand troops stormed the shore at Anzac Cove in Gallipoli. The Allied High Command had decided that the Allies needed to capture the Gallipoli Peninsula so that Allied ships could bring reinforcements and supplies through the Dardanelles to the Black Sea and their allies, the Russians. They attacked at various points of the peninsula with the aim of capturing the high ground so their guns could protect the straits. The New Zealand and Australian forces were to land at Gallipoli, but were eventually landed at what became known as Anzac Cove. Steep hills rise up right from the beach, and our soldiers came under immediate and constant machine gun and artillery fire that was to last for 10 months. 10 old boys were killed at Gallipoli. We are going to tell you something about them.
Robert Francis Gudgeon was born on January 16, 1895 in Picton to John and Augusta Gudgeon. As the youngest of 4 boys, all of whom served in World War I, Robert was no stranger to fighting. He attended Palmy Boys during the 1910 school year before his family moved to Christchurch. At the time of his enlistment, he was working as a clerk at the Bank of Australasia. Robert joined the New Zealand Expeditionary Force, enlisting in the Canterbury Infantry Battalion, and was shipped to Egypt on December 11, 1914. He landed with the first wave of attack on 25th of April, attacking the Surrey Bear Ridge. Robert found himself separated from his regiment, but he linked up with an Australian battalion. Somewhere in the chaos of the attack, Robert was killed. His body was never found.
Donald Calway Palant was born 4th of April 1892 to Arthur Palant and Margaret McGregor Wright. Palant grew up in Kaiporoto before moving to Shannon. Farming was his family's call. He attended Palmerston North High School from 1905 to 1908. Before enlisting, Donald was a sole teacher in Marama School near Pahiatua after studying arts at Victoria University. He answered the King's call to enlist on the 13th of August 1914 in the Wellington Regiment of the New Zealand Expeditionary Force. He embarked on the ship the Arawa to Egypt and then joined the Mediterranean Expeditionary Force in Gallipoli. He was described as a small man with grey eyes and light brown hair, but tremendous fighting spirit. 5 days after being promoted to sergeant, on the 8th of May, he was presumed dead after the insane attack on the Turkish lines across 500 metres of open ground that became known as the Daisy Patch. The Allies lost 6,500 men for just 500 metres.
Herbert Aing was born on 17th of April 1894 in Invercargill. He was the eldest son of Stanley and Minnie and Edna Aing. The family moved to Palmerston North and he was enrolled at Palmerston North Boys High School at the age of 15. After school, he worked as a bookseller in Hamilton. When New Zealand was called upon by Britain to fight, Herbert Aing enlisted and was signed as a gunner on 14th of August 1914. 2 months later, on 16th of October 1914, he embarked on ship to Egypt, where he underwent training before shipping to Gallipoli. There, as a gunner, his role was the firing of mobile artillery against the Turks. Life for ordinary soldiers were terrible. Heat, constant sniping from the Turks, dead bodies left to rot in no man's land, flies, and living in crew trenches 24/7, which resulted in soldiers getting typhus, a killer disease caused by lice. On 6th of July, Herbert Aing was admitted to hospital with a severe fever, which ended up killing him on the 14th of July 1915, just at the age of 20 and 5 months before the evacuation of Gallipoli began.
John, also known as Jack, was enrolled at Palmerston North High School between 1908 and 1909. He was a small young man, but only 5'4", with hazel eyes and brown hair. Before he joined the army, John had been working at Nathan & Co., a local tin milk factory in Bunnythorpe. However, upon the outbreak of war in August 1914, John quickly enlisted, and on the 14th of February, he sailed for Egypt. After a month's training, he was sent to Gallipoli on April the 30th. John was in the Wellington Mounted Rifles. As part of the main campaign to capture the high ground at Gallipoli, Chunuk Bair, the highest point, had to be taken. John's battalion was involved in this attack, starting with a naval bombardment at 3:30 a.m. At 4:30 a.m., the Wellingtons under Lieutenant Colonel William Malone stormed the top and took it. However, the Turks counterattacked and hundreds of our soldiers were killed, including John Andrew. He was only 21. His body was never found and he's remembered at the Chanock Bear Memorial.
Trevor Wilfred Priest was born on the 16th of June 1886 to George Augustus Priest and Ada Priest of 49 Fitzherbert Street, Palmerston North. He attended Palmerston North Boys High School between 1902 to 1903. Before his enlistment on the 20th of August 1914, he was a single team manager working in Dunedin for Harrison's Ramsay Limited. He was part of the Otago Infantry Battalion and departed from Port Chalmers for Egypt. In August 1915, the Battle over Tunic Bear took place. The battle was fought over 5 days. The goal was to capture the highest point in Gallipoli so that the Allies could control the Dardanelles Straits. It was a huge challenge as it was heavily defended by the Turks and it was very steep, an almost impossible task for the attacking force. On the night of the 6th of August, Trevor had been captured by the Turks. He was bound up. As we advanced, the Turks retreated and left Priest behind. As the Canterbury's advanced, thinking Priest was a Turk, he was shot dead. A tragic incident he is remembered on the Tunic Bear Memorial.
Archbold Frederick Robbie was born on the 3rd of November 1891 in Palmerston North. He was the eldest son of William and Louisa Robbie and lived at 289 Twistleton Street, which was opposite where College House is today. After attending Palmerston North High School from 1905 to 1907, he was employed as a cadet in the Government Life Insurance Office in Christchurch. When war broke out, he enlisted at Wellington. His first action was the Samoan Expeditionary Force, which took Samoa from the Germans. On his return to New Zealand, he joined the Otago Infantry Regiment and shipped out to Egypt. From Egypt, he then went to Gallipoli. The main battle in August was the taking and then loss of the high point Chanock Bear. Robbie was killed during this battle on the 9th of August 1915 at the age of 23, and his body was never found. He is remembered on the Chanock Bear Memorial.
Born 19 January 1894, Henry Vaughan Sutton was raised by Leonard and Anne Sutton in the South Island township of Collingwood, but relocated to Kimbolton by the time he was in high school. He attended Palmerston North High School from 1908. He enlisted in the Wellington Mounted Rifles on August 20, 1914, at only age 20, and he departed for Egypt and Gallipoli on October 16, 1914. Henry Sutton fought in the Battle of Chanock Bear and was killed on the 8th of August, day 2 of the attack. On the night of the 7th, the Anzacs had captured Chanock Bear, but the Turks under Mustafa Kemal countered ferociously and retook the summit of Chanock Bear. During the fighting, 711 of the Wellington Rifles, 760 became casualties. One of them was Henry Sutton, who was killed. Once again, his body was never found, and he is remembered on the Chanock Bear Memorial.
Francis Derbyshire Twistleton was born on the 3rd of January 1888 to Rachel and Frederick Twistleton in Palmerston North. He was raised on the family farm and lived on Bunnythorpe Road in Ashurst. He attended Palmerston North High School for 1 year in 1905. He was a labourer in Hunterville, and upon his enlistment in the army, he became a trooper in the Wellington Mounted Rifles. He, alongside his regiment, embarked for Egypt from King's Wharf, Wellington, the largest body of men ever to leave the shores of New Zealand at any one time. He was killed in action on the 9th of August 1915, where the Wellington Regiment under Colonel William Malone stormed and captured Chanock Bear. 760 men were killed, including Frank Twistleton. His body was never found, and he is remembered on the Chanock Bear Memorial.
John Alexander McFaren was born in 1896. He lived with his parents, John and Priscilla McFaren, in Cooktown, Australia, before he moved to New Zealand and attended Palmerston North High School in 1909. He then moved to Christchurch before enlisting. He was placed in the Canterbury Mounted Rifles, and after training, he was shipped out from Wellington to Egypt, arriving on December 1st, 1914. His time in Egypt was spent doing intense drills and trainings. 3 months after landing in Gallipoli, John was involved in the battle for Hill 60. With the denial of reinforcements from London, Allied command decided to make one last attempt at a breakout from Gallipoli. The plan involved a joint attack on Hill 60 and the neighbouring Scimitar Hill. John's regiment was involved in a second push on the 27th of April. After an initial push by his regiment and other Anzacs failed to capture Hill 60. They charged at 5 p.m, suffering immense losses. They managed to capture several trench lines before they were forced to stop just below Sutton due to fierce Turkish resistance. The fighting went on until dawn the next day. It was here that John Alexander McFaren was killed.
Francis Nestor Robinson was born on the 5th of April, 1891. He was the only son of Frank and Anne Lucy Robinson, who were farmers near Foxton. Frank attended Palmerston High School from 1905 to 1906. During this time, he volunteered in the high school rifle cadets, where he learned the ways of a soldier. After leaving high school, Frank farmed alongside his father. However, his dreams of a farming life were cut short when the war arrived. Frank enlisted and was posted to the Alvi camp, and on the 17th of April 1915, departed New Zealand with the 4th reinforcements bound for Egypt. In Egypt, Frank joined the Wellington Mounted Rifles, undergoing intensive training and drills in preparation for the challenging terrains of Gallipoli. In early August, his regiment set sail for Gallipoli to take part in the Battle of Hill 60. When the carefully planned attacks to capture Scimitar Hill on the 21st failed, the Wellington Mounted Rifles were ordered to attack on Hill 60 on the 27th. At 5 p.m., the attack commenced, charging the Turkish trenches. It was said by one of his mates that Frank was one of the few who had made it to the fourth trench of the Turks, but eventually he couldn't hold it. It was then that Francis was killed in action.
Between 1902 and 1915, 748 young men had enrolled at our school. 70 never returned from World War I. A terrible price was paid, and we will remember them.